Hello everyone, Delix here. So, I was trying all day to think, should I really review No Way Home? I tried to review it last night at 3 in the morning, but I couldn't do it. And this is one of those films where it had a lot of hype to it, and a lot of fans, die-hard Spider-Man fans, want to hear positiveness about the film, and I didn't want to be that guy where I'm so honest, people are gonna feel like, I'm a hater, which, I've been targeted as a hater to a lot of honest opinions on here. And I didn't want to do that to the fan base of Spider-Man, because Spider-Man fan base is a very hardcore fan base. They take some shit serious and, who's ever the best Spider-Man kind of shit. And I kind of feel like this movie that has a lot of hype to it and a lot of people just want to hear positiveness from it and not maybe some criticisms about it. I didn't want to feel like a guy who just came off disappointed and you're ruining the fun for the film, because I enjoyed this film. It had a lot of hype to it, a lot of leaks, a lot of stuff. And by the way, this is going to be me talking about spoilers. I'm going to be just talking about everything. I really have to just be honest. There's a lot of stuff I like in this film, and there's a lot of stuff I'm not happy with. There's decisions and choices that I'm just... I didn't agree with the material, the storytelling they were going for. Now, I have my notes open on my phone to discuss a few things I don't like. But before criticism, let's talk about some positiveness about the film. Like everyone else, Tom Holland has been pushed. He's suffering. He has some pain in his life, thank God. I rewatched Homecoming and Far From Home, and my problem with his movies, it's really a whole MCU thing. They're just too much comedy, man. There's just put some low ground on the comedy. Just too much is over the top. And when you surround yourself by so much comedy, I can't really be invested in the film emotionally or taking it seriously when everything is just comedy. And No Way Home has a lot of comedy into it. A lot of people have been saying this movie is pretty fun for a while, but then it gets dark and depressing after this amount of screen time. But no, it's that's not the case. There's still comedy throughout this entire film. It's not a completely dark, depressing movie. I don't know why people keep saying that. One half is comedy and the other half is depressing and dark town. No, the comedy does not leave this movie. It's there. Everyone has comedy relief moments, and it just does not work for me. It really ruins the experience in my personal taste. But back what I was saying earlier, the character of Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man in this movie, he suffers a lot. He learns. He's growing up. He's learning what it means to be, a hero, sacrifices, losing people that he loves, and etc. And I'm so glad they're pushing the character, because I feel like the criticism with Far From Home and Homecoming are very fair. I really do believe the criticism to both of those movies are very fair. You gotta push the character at some point. Make him suffer, make him grow the hell up, and this movie does deliver that. That is a positive. Another thing, Peter Parker's relationship with MJ, finally, they actually have good chemistry. They're actually talking, communicating, being cute together, kissing. There's actually chemistry between them two. And MJ in this movie, I agree with people say, she's called MJ, but she's not really MJ. She's just there existing. And in the first movie, she was kind of just there. We didn't know if her name was MJ until the last minute of the film of Homecoming. And then in Far From Home, out of nowhere, Peter tries to tell Ned, I'm in love with Mary Jane. But it's really where did that come from? There was no build-up. There was no chemistry. You just happened to like her for some reason. In this movie, they actually make the relationship in a way where you do care for the relationship. You do care about their communication. You do care about them, having this bond. It took 3 films to get Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, actually having some chemistry with Zendaya's MJ. I'm glad they did this in this movie. You actually give a shit for their relationship for once. I don't mean to shit on, the writing from the other 2 movies. It's just, the writing was just not there in their relationship through the other two movies, but they really did their damnedest for you to really care about what's going on between them this time. That's a good positiveness, and everything else about the movie, the setup, the build-up, the payoff, they deliver things that you came to see, but it's just the way they present these things and how things are revealed I don't agree with. And I'm going to get into some criticism here, and I'm not sure if everyone's going to be on board with this. I can understand why you don't want my opinions to be said, and you may not agree with my opinions, but here we go. So the Doc Ock fight, when he gets revealed, like how it was in the trailers, when we get that Spider-Man fight with Doc Ock, it's how it was in the trailers, and that's really the only screen time Doc Ock gets, you know, being a bad guy. And once Peter Parker gets, you know, controls Doc Ock's arms, you know, with his little Bluetooth shit, how he was able to hack into his tentacle arm things. It becomes like a comedy relief moment where like they're both trying to play with the arms. Like Doc Ock's like, stop that. And Peter just kind of plays with it, and then I'm just like, okay, we're back to comedy. We had this really cool fight scene with Doc Ock, and now we're going back to comedy with him. And that's really it about Doc Ock. Like, he doesn't do anything really in this movie. This movie's mostly about redeeming the villains, you know, in a respectful, understandable way. But I thought if Doc Ock turned good, he would fight Green Goblin or Electro. But that did not happen. He was mostly there, you know, Peter was trying to help him, you know, with a little thing, the chip on his back or neck, trying to make him, you know, feel like he's human again, you know, not a monster, not being controlled. And Peter does that. He's trying to keep them alive because Doctor Strange wanted to send them in, you know, where they came from, which means they would die. But when he met Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, he feels sorry for them. He wants to give another chance, which is good for Peter Parker's character. You know, he doesn't want to just kill them. He wants to understand them, get to know them. But it backfires on him because of Green Goblin, you know. He starts to do evil shit. And then that's when Peter was like, okay, I fucked up. I messed up. We gotta send him back home. But like I said, when Doc Ock becomes a good guy, I thought he would join in the action trying to defeat Electro and Green Goblin, but that's not the case. And Willem Dafoe, who plays Green Goblin in this movie, he's great. He has some really breakdown, realistic chemistry for you to like care about his relationship with Peter at the very beginning. He doesn't know what's going on. He is thinking about his son. Oscorp is no longer here. He's having some issues with the Green Goblin taking over him, you know, his mind and shit. And like it was in the trailer, you don't really see Green Goblin's original design for a while. Like once you see it, like in the trailer, that's the only time you see it. Besides the next time you do see him wearing the suit and the armor, Willem Dafoe just smashes the mask because it was trying to take over his mind. And I get that, but I would really wish that the original outfit would be in the film longer. But that's when Norman Osborn, you know, came back with his subconscious, that he was able to be in control again. That's when he went to the homeless shelter and found Aunt May. And then that's when Green Goblin met Peter. Sorry if I keep going back with the names. But after that happened, eventually Green Goblin takes over Norman Osborn again, and that's when shit goes wild after he was trying so hard to try to convince Doctor Strange, I want to save them and everything, right? And he does that. He gets what he wanted, but then it backfired because Green Goblin took over Norman Osborn's subconscious, and then that's when he started to blow up buildings and he killed Aunt May. Thank God. I was happy that Aunt May died because Peter needs some pain in his life. He needs some death in his life. The kid needs to suffer. Make the motherfucker suffer, and they did that. And then you had this really amazing scene where then Aunt May delivers the Uncle Ben line. With great power comes great responsibility. She delivers it wonderfully to Peter. But then she dies. And I'm glad that she died. I'm glad that she kind of died in Peter's arms. Like, I felt like Peter needed that pain in his life to know that, you know, this is real shit. People are gonna die. And Green Goblin, like everyone says, he doesn't hold back. He goes all out with the kill. You know, this motherfucker does not hold back at all. I'm just really disappointed that Doc Ock didn't join them on the ride to try to, you know, to help them, to try to get them back where they needed to go. You know, Doc Ock actually for a while, he kind of just disappears in the film. Same thing with Green Goblin. Green Goblin disappears for a while, for like 30 minutes of the film, and he comes back later at the last act of this movie. And I completely forgot about him, to be honest. And I wasn't expecting Peter to beat Green Goblin's ass like Green Goblin was beating Peter Parker's ass earlier in the film. I expected a more choreographed hand-to-hand combat like how it was in Sam Raimi's universe with the 2002 movie. But I didn't get that. It was mostly just Peter beating the shit out of Green Goblin, and that was it. I expected more out of him besides him coming out of nowhere when he was gone for like 30 minutes. Doc Ock grabbed his glider, and that was really it. He didn't really, like, Doc Ock didn't really do anything. I thought he was going to be involved more in the film besides him just showing up out of nowhere. Because Electro pushed him out of the room where Peter was trying to help everyone. You didn't see him for a while. He comes in at the last act, and I'm just like, where the hell were you? Like, it just, I don't agree with it, you know? I just don't agree with how the Green Goblin and Doc Ock were like kind of gone for like a good chunk of the film until the last act, and they didn't really do anything. Now then, yes, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they come in the film. It was great seeing them, but I did not like how they were around for comedy relief. Like, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, seeing them back was great, but they were really here just to help Tom Holland's Peter Parker to, you know, to come up with a plan, to strategize how to get rid of everyone, you know? And most of them was just, you know, like, it was great seeing them interacting. It's just, I wish it wasn't around comedy. I just wish Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was not surrounded by comedy. You know, at first, they had this emotional scene talking about all the pain of losing Gwen Stacy, Uncle Ben, and then Aunt May, and that was great, but everything else that came after, I'm just like, does it have to be around comedy? Does it have to be like this? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't agree with the comedy aspect of this film. I agree with the criticism of other people's reviews. Sometimes the comedy does not nail, and sometimes it feels forced just to be funny, and I don't like it. Another thing I didn't like about the final act of the battle, Electro doesn't really do a whole lot in this film, besides, you know, he agreed with Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, about, hey, okay, if you're giving us another shot, we'll listen to you. We'll try to get things back together, you know, so we can go back home. But after a while, you know, he's power hungry, and then at the last, you know, in the last final battle, the last act of the final battle, I mean, Electro doesn't really do anything. Jamie Foxx's Electro doesn't do anything. He kind of just hangs up in the air like it was in the trailers, and he just, you know, he spreads lightning all around. And the Spider-Men are just, you know, they're just jumping and spinning and, you know, web shooting to go this and this, or throwing this and this, but it's like, it didn't feel choreographed. And I was really disappointed that Electro he just stood in the air, just, you know, shooting lightning. That was really it. There was really not a lot of movement. There wasn't like a lot of chemistry balance, you know, like how, like in Sam Raimi's universe, things are more choreographed. There's more action, spinning, and things being thrown. Electro just hanging in the air, like the way that he was, man, I'm just like, is that it? That is it. They're just gonna dodge the lightning and try to attack him. And to me, like, that was really disappointing. Like, I was thinking Electro would fly, lightning, choreograph, dodge, spinning, hand-to-hand combat, but no, he's just in the air for like the rest of the whole movie, and that's, I don't know, man. That like, I'm really picky about that. Like, I like, everyone was worried that these fights weren't going to be choreographed, and that's a fair criticism. These fights are not really choreographed, so that to me kind of bugged me. Now, as the reveals for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, we all thought they were going to be introduced with their classic original theme songs. And it didn't happen like that. Ned apparently he accidentally brings them to their reality. I did not like their reveal, man. To me, it didn't work. Like, everyone thought that we were going to get them in, like, when Doctor Strange says, I can't stop them from coming through, we thought that was going to be their introduction, but it wasn't. Ned somehow magically was able to use powers, and he brought the wrong Spider-Man to their universe, and it was Andrew, then it was Toby, and we all shouted in the movie theater. It was fun, but when I really think about it, I'm like, did you really have to introduce him like that? And the moment when Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker, comes in, you know, to Tom Holland's universe, he kind of he's just there for comedy, you know. They're trying to ask him questions like, are you the real Spider-Man? Then he just hangs on the wall, and then he walks on the ceiling, and then they have more comedy for like another 2 minutes with Ned's mother, and it just drags, and I'm like, this is the big reveal for the two Spider-Men that everyone loves? To me, I just didn't agree with that. Like, I was expecting more, like I said, with their theme songs coming in the background when they're gonna join and help Tom Holland. You know, it didn't happen like that. Another thing, all the Spider-Men mostly are fighting without their mask, and I didn't like that. Like, I get it, you want to show the audience their real faces, but at the same time, I'm just like, I would have much rather them wear the mask more. Speaking of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, he got less screen time with action-wise compared to Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man didn't really get a lot of great shots in this film, and I don't know, man. Like, I expected a lot more choreographed, better chemistry with everyone, and not relying on comedy. I was expecting the villains, you know, to actually fight. Like I said, since I thought Doc Ock turned good after Tom Holland's Peter Parker helped him, you know, get his conscience back and not being controlled by the arms, I thought he would join in the action trying to fight Sandman, the Lizard, and Green Goblin. But it didn't happen like that, and they didn't really, they just didn't do anything, man. I'm really disappointed about that. And you had this really cool moment with the three main characters, you know, Zendaya's MJ, Ned's character, and Tom Holland's Peter Parker, where, like, you know, they're having this realistic, sad moment, right? And you see Flash just come in. He just shouts and then does, like, a dance, and then he just walks out. I'm like, why? Like, what was the point of that comedy? You know, like what? Like, they had this realistic, depression, sad moment where they're all feeling each other's pain, right? And then when you have Flash come in and he's just here to be a dick, it didn't nail me, man. Like, I didn't like how they just randomly put comedy in this film when it did not need to be in there. It really ruins these deep messages and these deep moments with the characters, you know? Okay, I already talked about Aunt May dying. I think Aunt May dying the way that she did by Green Goblin was good. It was executed very well. And the way that Peter cried and how he got shot in the arm by the cops because they were trying to get him because they thought that he killed Mysterio and stuff like that, so they consider him an enemy. So Peter got shot in the arm after Aunt May died, and I think they handled her death very well. I'm glad that she died. Another thing, Peter gets his new suit because Doc Ock was giving him his nanotech back to him because, like you saw in the trailer, Doc Ock took the nanotech from Peter Parker's suit and then he gives it back to him as a thank you gift for restoring my subconscious back. And then Peter, he just gets a new suit out of nowhere. I'm very sad he did not have his original blue and red suit in this movie. I don't know why they keep giving him all these new suits for toy value because it really hurts the film. Like, I don't like the new suits they keep giving him. Like, Doc Ock just gives him a new suit. Like, it was kind of really out of the blue, in my opinion, man. It didn't make any sense to me. Now then, the fighting itself, man, if you want choreographed fights, you're not going to get that here. Besides, I think the best choreographed fight was the Doc Ock fight with Peter Parker. Now, when you go back to the fight with Green Goblin, just shitting on Peter Parker, like punching, kicking him, throwing him to a wall, that was good. And Willem Dafoe was really good with his acting. Like, his smile when he's like, "Come on, you want to fight? You want to fight?" And they both just go at it with each other. But Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, he eventually gets the win, right? And he just knocks Peter down to the ground. He's covered in blood. He did a great job beating Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Again, thank God, he's getting some pain in his life. I've been wanting his Spider-Man to suffer for a long time. So yeah, Willem Dafoe did a great job doing that. And he fights without his mask. And speaking of his design earlier, yeah, like, we didn't see a lot of his original design in this movie with the Sam Raimi universe. I thought he was gonna team up with Doc Ock and fight against Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, but it didn't happen like that. It did not happen like that at all. You know, you get 1 second of them being there, and then they get transported to Doctor Strange's that little cave area where they were being locked up in. But Green Goblin was out there doing some shit. And then the next thing you see him struggle with the mask again, like I said earlier, and then he smashes the mask. And then he gets a new design later on. But I thought we were going to spend some time with the Sam Raimi green uniform. But no, it didn't happen like that. That specific design from the 2002 movie, it does not really have a lot of screen time at all in this film. And I was really disappointed about that. I felt like that was kind of weird. But, you know, I guess they weren't trying to treat it too nostalgically. Which I don't have nostalgia with the Toby Mcguire movies. Like, yes, Toby Mcguire's my Spider-Man. But I was not obsessed with his films. I didn't even have any toys of him growing up. I wasn't obsessed with these films. I didn't really like these films until, like, the last couple of years where I really got back into Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. But I can understand why they didn't want to play the nostalgia card. I get why they got rid of the original suit, but I really wish it was in there longer. But yeah, I think those are my criticisms to the film, to be honest. I think it's a really fun film. But I really was not expecting Green Goblin to come back in the last final act of the battle when he was gone for like 30 minutes of the movie. And then he gets his ass kicked by Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker. And I didn't like that. I didn't like how he just got his ass kicked at the last second of this film. I thought they were both going to, you know, choreograph taijutsu flips or whatever. But it wasn't like that. It was mostly just Tom Holland being the shit out of Green Goblin because Green Goblin earlier was beating the shit out of Tom Holland. I would have liked both of them if they both choreographed each other with a fight style. But it wasn't like that. And Tom Holland was trying to kill Green Goblin after killing May, but Toby Mcguire's Spider-Man came in and tried to stop the glider because Tom Holland was trying to kill him with his glider, but he stopped it. But as for Andrew Garfield and Toby Mcguire in general, I'm happy to see them perform, but I didn't feel like they were taking their characters seriously in this film. Like when Toby Mcguire got stabbed by Green Goblin after he was trying to fight against Tom Holland's Peter Parker, but no, you can't kill him, you can't kill him. Green Goblin took that to his advantage and stabbed Toby Mcguire's Spider-Man in the back. And then at the last minute of the film, they all hugged each other saying goodbye after Tom Holland was like, okay, we can put everything back together, but make people not remember who I am. So he said goodbye to them. And then when Tom Holland's Peter Parker left, Andrew's Spider-Man picked up Toby Mcguire, and they all kind of giggled. You're like, you're in pain, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, I'm in a lot of pain. Again, it's like, even though he got stabbed, they're treating it as a comedy relief moment, and just, I don't do well with this comedy shit, you know, it's not really working for me. But those are my complaints, you know. I think the positiveness of the film is that Tom Holland we all got what we wanted out of this film, for him to suffer, for him to grow up, that he's gonna lose people, he's gonna suffer, people are gonna, you know, be out there to hurt people that you love. And Green Goblin physically beat the shit out of Peter Parker's Tom Holland. We've never seen that before to now. I'm disappointed that Doc Ock did not join on the battle to help everyone else. Like, I'm glad that the other Peter Parkers did, but I was expecting Doc Ock, after it turned good, he was going to beat the Lizard and the Sandman and Green Goblin, but it was not like that. All Doc Ock does is grab Green Goblin's glider, tries to bend him back, and that was really it. Like, he didn't really add much into the film. And then you had this other comic relief moment where, like, they're all together in Happy's house talking and interacting, and they say some funny shit, but it's just like, I was expecting it to be a more of a darker, serious movie where all of these villains gang up on Tom Holland, but it was not like that. And the fact that Doc Ock didn't do anything after getting redeemed, to me, was disappointing, because this is probably the last time he's ever going to come back. And let's be honest, we want choreographed fights, we want fights to be good. But these fights, in my opinion, did not deliver. They weren't really all that great, in my opinion. They weren't strategized. They weren't choreographed well. So that's just my personal opinion. And same thing with Electro. You know, he didn't really add much to the film. You know, he got his redemption with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, which was good. But I was really disappointed for the rest of the film and the final battle. Like I said earlier, he just hangs around in the air, shoots lightning, and that was really it. I was expecting a lot more out of that fight, but no. But as for Green Goblin, for coming in after like 30 minutes of not being in the film, I kind of forgot he was even in the film because he left after killing May, and I completely forgot about that motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot about that. But as for the comedy, I didn't like it too much. I didn't like how Doc Ock turned good, and after that he didn't do anything. After that he didn't help out. Again, it's mostly a Tom Holland's movie, which I get that much, but I kind of feel like they kind of wasted everyone. Now then, everyone says this is a good Spider-Man movie. The emotions are there. And yes, the emotions are there, but I kind of feel like a lot in this movie didn't go completely all out. It relied on comedy, and it didn't rely on anything but Aunt May's death. I thought MJ was going to die, but she didn't die. Only one person died besides random people who got exploded, but besides that, I expected a lot more in this movie. I was expecting a lot. And I didn't get that. I didn't like how, and again, I didn't like how Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man were just comic relief characters after a while, you know? They joked around. Tobey Maguire jokes around how his best friend died in his arms. I used to have a friend when he was talking to Ned, and it just didn't really work for me. Like, again, I'm glad we got to see them, but I kind of feel like the execution was not there. And again, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, when he's fighting along with everyone else against Sandman and Lizard, I really feel like the camera was not enough on Tobey Maguire for some reason. Like, Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland's Spider-Man got a lot more screen time when Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was actually fighting with them. I don't know why that happened. I was expecting Tobey Maguire to do get the amount of screen time that he deserved, but he didn't get it. Andrew Garfield got more screen time than Tobey, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, I was expecting more deaths. I was expecting the Green Goblin's outfit to be in here longer, but it didn't. He got a new design. He killed Aunt May, then he left, and he came back 30 minutes later, and I completely forgot about him for the rest of the film. Electro didn't do a whole lot. Doc Ock got his redemption, and after that he didn't do anything either. There's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of comedy that doesn't work anymore. Like, there's more for me to criticize than me to praise this movie. And I feel like a lot of people love this movie because they are really into the MCU movies. They're really into the MCU Spider-Man of Tom Holland. For me, I don't love his Spider-Man, and I think a lot of people came back in this movie just to see the other two Spider-Man, which, yes, they are in here, but I expected a lot more out of them. And another criticism I heard is that people like Andrew Garfield and Toby Mcguire's Spider-Man, you know, they kind of magically know how to put shit together. Apparently, Toby Mcguire's Spider-Man became a scientist over the last 13 years, which was kind of random. You know, I agree with Moist Critical's review about him, saying that they kind of just knew what to do, how to build the serum, how to build the antidotes out of fucking nowhere. Like, that kind of felt a bit rushed. But, yeah, as the last act, when Doctor Strange, they're coming in, I can't stop them. It doesn't happen. Nothing comes down. You don't have to worry about it. Nothing happens. But, yeah, there's just a lot more for me to criticize than me to enjoy. And I apologize if this comes out as a negative review. I really do apologize. Like, I'm not a hater. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. So it's okay to disagree with me. It's okay to put judgment on me. I'm just saying I expected more out of this film. Like, everyone was talking about this film, about Tobey Maguire coming in with their theme songs and then helping Tom Holland, but it wasn't really like that. And to me, from a writing point of view, that felt like that would have happened, but the reveals from Ned just, you know, bring them into this reality kind of... It didn't really nail it for me, and especially with the comedy that came after they met Tobey Maguire and Andrew. The comedy was always there, and to me, I'm like, can you just put 5 minutes without comedy? You know, but again, this is more of a rant review than a positive review, but I'm not trying to sound as a hater. No, this movie is not trash. This movie is not bad. I'm just talking about I expected more because of all the leaks and all the footage and the way that they were even talking about this film. Like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was supposed to be telling Tom Spider-Man about the great power responsibility quote, but no, it was worded by Aunt May again, which is completely fine. It's just when we hear a lot of leaks and what we hear about how the film we think is supposed to happen the way that we thought and believed it was going to happen, I got this weird subconscious of what I thought the movie was going to be, and it wasn't like that. It went in different directions I didn't agree with, but at the end of the film, Tom Holland gets his wish, no one remembers him, Happy doesn't remember him, and he has his new suit, his original blue, well, not his original, but he goes back to the blue and red suit. But I was really bummed out that Tom Holland wasn't wearing his blue and red suit with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man when they were having their original suits. Like, I don't know why they keep giving him new suits for toys. It really ruins the film for me. But, if you guys want to know, I do think Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2 are the best Spider-Man movies till this day. Andrew Garfield, he got screwed over in his films, but I'm glad he came back to be in a better movie, at least. He plays a great Spider-Man, trust me. Andrew Garfield plays a great Spider-Man. He was just put in shitty films, and I feel bad. And he definitely deserves the respect that he gets. Now, as for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I don't love his Spider-Man. I never felt for a Spider-Man. I never felt like I could really... get behind the character. Like, unless you're 15, 17 in high school, you can get behind the character, but people who are not in high school, we can't really relate to that anymore. But, yeah, I don't know. This is just my review. Again, I apologize if this comes off as a rant than a positive, but I don't want to lie to my audience. I don't want to lie to anyone, but I just expected things to be executed in a different direction than what we got. Like, we got everything that we got from the trailers and what we thought was going to happen in the movie. It's just, it didn't happen the way that I thought it was going to happen, if that makes sense. But let me know what you think. I don't know how long this video is going to be up on my channel. If it does well, if it gets really bad reviews, people don't like my opinions, respectfully, I may take it down because I don't want to trigger the Spider-Man fan base. I'm an anime channel after all. But there's some people in the anime community that are talking about Spider-Man, so I was like, hey, maybe I might join in for the fun. But, you know, but yeah, I'm Delix, subscribe if you want, and stay Spider-Man weird.